Can she hear me now? Good afternoon, Namibia and the globe, and welcome to our Monday session. And this is the last session for February 2022, pardon me. And today we are looking at NGOs. 27th of February 2022 saw the celebration of Ngo Day, and that prompted our topic for this afternoon, where we are looking at the contribution of non-governmental and civil society organizations to the attainment of SDGs and NDPs. But before we do that, we do have to play part, or our part, in the responsibility of making sure that the nation is kept updated on what is happening with regards to COVID. And I must say, as a country and as a nation, we have really done great, applaudable work in our fight in curbing COVID-19, as the latest reports have given very promising outcomes on tests, infections, as well as the death rate. To give us the COVID update this afternoon, we've got Dr. Esther Mwinyangwe, who is the Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Health and Social Services. Good afternoon, Doctor. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kahiha.
Thank you. Take it away.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Fellow Namibians, I do the update for the 27th of February 2022. we announced 17 positive cases from 764 results in the last 24 hours reporting cycle, representing 2.2% positivity ratio. Out of the total confirmed cases, 15 are new cases and 2 are reinfections. Out of the 17, 11 are females, while 10 are new, and 6 males, of which 5 are new cases. The age range is from 4 to 73 years. The new COVID-19 positive cases and reinfections are as follows. Ngo, 7, 4 from Swakopmund, and 1 reinfection also from Swakop. Usakos 2, Wolfish Bay 1. 6 new cases from Windhoek, Commerce region, and 1 reinfection. Omaheke 1 from Gopapes, and that is a new case. There is no reinfection. Karas 1 from Keetmanshoop, which is also a new case, and there are no reinfections in Keetmanshoop or Karas region. We are reporting cases from 4 regions. Among the confirmed cases, 6 are learners from different schools. 4 cases are fully vaccinated, of which 1 has received a booster dose, while 13 cases are not vaccinated, accounting for 76.5% of the total confirmed cases. Today, we don't report any recoveries. The number of active cases is 2,589. 25 cases are currently hospitalized across 7 regions. 2 hospitalized cases are fully vaccinated, while 23 are not vaccinated, constituting 92%. 6 cases are in ICU, of which none is vaccinated. The distribution of hospitalized cases is as follows. Ohangwena 7, Koma 6, and all 6 are in ICU. Oshana 5, Omusati 3, Erongo 2, Sambesi 1, and Oshodonjupa 1. On a very positive note, we also do not report any deaths. By 26 February 2022, a total of 432,481 persons aged 18 years and older have received 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, representing 29.4% of the target population. A total of 124,025 people have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, while 249,294 adults have received 2 doses of other vaccine types. Hence, 373,319 adults have completed their vaccination, translating to 25.4% of the target population. 9,881 children aged 12 to 17 years have received 1 dose of the Pfizer vaccine, representing 3.2% of the target population, which is 307,298. Of these, 2,394 are fully vaccinated. Hence, the cumulative number of people vaccinated with the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine for both adults and children is 442,362, of which 375,713 are fully vaccinated, translating to 21.1% of the total target population, which is 1,779,271. 27,264 people have received a COVID-19 vaccine booster dose. Moving on, Director of Proceedings, Madam Moderator, the summary of the national update as of 27 February is as follows. Cumulative newly confirmed individuals, 157,225, with 15 newly confirmed individuals and 2 new reinfections. So in other words, the cumulative cases, including reinfections, we stand now at 159,305. Recoveries, 152,694, giving us a recovery rate of 97.1%. Active cases, 2,589. COVID-19 vaccine first dose, 442,362. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccine second doses, 251,688. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccine completed, 375,713. COVID-19 deaths, 3,679. COVID-19 related deaths, 328. That is giving us a total number of deaths, which is now 4,007. Total samples tested, 955,455. Active contacts, 691. Cumulative number of people quarantined, 88,709. And 88,128 people have been discharged from quarantine facilities, which means that currently we have 581 people in quarantine facilities. Madam Moderator, that concludes the update for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Esther Mwenyangwe. And honestly speaking, you are helping us celebrate the fact that as a nation, we are getting somewhere. So thank you very much for this has been your second year now? Yeah. That you you were really thrown in at the deep end and you keep fighting. Exactly. Thank you very much. And there you hear it, Namibia. As a country, we are really fighting. I believe it's a collective effort. I don't think it's something that we could have done without each other. So please do continue the efforts to make sure that we get to the point where we have 0 deaths for, I don't know, let's challenge each other. I don't know, for a period of a month, 2, 3. I'm sure that we can get to the other side of it. Continue washing your hands regularly with running water and soap. Do make sure that you continuously also sanitize your hands and disinfect the surfaces that you work on, as well as practicing social distancing and constantly wearing your mask when you are in public areas. Now we continue with the topic for the afternoon. We said that today we're looking at the contribution of non-governmental and civil society organizations towards the attainment of SDGs and NDPs. In the studio this afternoon, I have a healthy panel. I believe they will be able to assist us in dissecting this particular topic as they celebrated the Ngo Day on the 27th of February. So they've been having progressive activities of awareness towards NGOs, their activities, their contributions, and so forth, as We will be speaking to Ms. Florence Kajas, and she is the director of Young Feminist Movement Namibia Trust. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I believe I pronounced that okay, no?
Yes.
Hey, I'm training my tongue these days with the studio. Next to her, we've got Mr. Ronnie P.J. Dempert. He's the executive director for Namibia Development Trust. Good afternoon, sir.
Very good.
I also got that one right. Hey, I'm making strides in as a Namibian pronouncing our names. I also have Ms. Toini Amambo, and she is the program officer for Namibia Rural Women Assembly. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Thank you all for being with us this afternoon. I think to kick off, I will throw this ball at Mr. Dempert, and we want to find out from you, what is the overall role of NGOs in Namibia, and maybe even in the world, as well as the rationale behind celebrating NGOs and having an NGO day?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. The role of NGOs are quite diverse, and NGOs stands for non-governmental organizations. It's a concept that was developed way back in the 18th century, and I understand that in 1945 has been officially crafted in the UN Charter that recognized the contributions of non-governmental organizations, can be at times referred to civil society organizations, community-based organizations, but there are different levels of organizations which are outside government, which are making a contribution towards socio-economic development in different countries. NGO work are working in diverse portfolios, but they can be classified, their work can be classified mainly in two areas. One is that some NGOs respond mainly in the areas of advocacy. That means they speak for people, they represent particular positions and issues. The other segment will be in service provision. Those are NGOs that would try to say we can complement government efforts, and we can, in different areas, housing, education, health, in different fields, can go in and help complement government services. So there are two categories that can primarily be divided in which NGO work is being carried out in Namibia and also globally. The idea around NGO Day Celebration was coined for the first time in 2010. We understand, and has been officially recognized by the UN General Assembly also as a day that is meant to, on 27th of February, to celebrate, commemorate, and collaborate the work that NGOs are doing throughout the world. And so far it has been not so much celebrated in Africa, but this year we have decided as civil society organizations to also observe this day in Namibia. Because we believe that the Namibian civil society, pre-independence and post-independence, continue to play an important role. We talk about peace and stability, we talk about prosperity, but in our small ways, we have making a difference in different sectors. You know, women empowerment, actions against gender-based violence, in different fields that NGOs are making that provision. So, and especially this year is important for us because we know that the last 2 years, as you have said, with the COVID information, Namibia as a nation has been quite affected by the impact of that. And that has also not spared civil society actors as individuals and as a collective. So we believe that by coming together during this time, it's a moment of inspiration. It's a moment of just reconnecting, to just encourage each other to say how hard it can be. Let's just pull ourselves together to be able to realize that we have made a contribution, and we are making a contribution. And by reflecting also on where civil society has developed, we can inspire ourselves and say, this is how we can march forward towards playing our roles actively in contributing towards sustainable development goals and also against the attainment of NDP5.
Okay. Now, starting off with Ms. Amambo and working our way through to Ms. Kajas, we would like to find out what are the key achievements that your respective organizations have achieved over the years, and how were they achieved?
Well, thank you so much. Well, when it comes to the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly, this is a non-governmental organization that is intended to actually advocate for or to empower our women in the rural areas. Well, the key achievements that we have achieved over the years is Namibian Rural Women's Assembly organization, were able to empower women within the rural areas. The other one, we were actually able to root within all 14 regions in Namibia, where the organization currently, as we speak, we will find it in all or represented in all 14 regions of Namibia. And then we actually have active members there. We actually have a lot of activities that are happening there. And on top of that, when it comes to the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly, over the years, our women were able to sit in the land boards. Our women were actually able to partake in activities such as gender-based violence, whereby they actually advocate for women and they advocate for women's rights. So we had really played a very huge role. And the other one, just to sum it up, we have raised so much awareness just to make sure that in the end of the day, the organization itself, it stands out there, it speaks for women's rights, and as a nation, it also empowers our rural women. So we had really played a very big role in that.
Okay. Mr. Dempers, your specific institution, how have you achieved them? What were the key achievements?
Yeah, the Namibia Development Trust is a capacity building organization. We are building community-based organizations, and we respond to the diverse goals under the Sustainable Development Goals. As we know, there are 17 goals about no poverty, no to hunger, gender equality, and climate action, etc. So when we build community-based organizations, when we build people's organizations, we believe that these organizations are capacitated to be able to respond to these diverse needs that are in their different communities. So we specialize in building community organizations. We do a lot of training and capacity building. I think for me, this testimony that we have got of two women's organizations through the Young Feminist Movement and the Namibia Rural Women Organization, because these are also the two women organizations that NDT helps to strengthen and build their capacity to be able to play their roles actively in their different activities, which I'm sure they will be more qualified to be able to speak about their work, etc.
Yes. Mr. Haas? How have you achieved the key achievements that you managed to, and what are those key achievements?
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say, viva to all the Namibian women. I would like to say we celebrate you, we love you, we hear you, we see you. Namibian women have been through so much, and we are still going forward resilient, with courage, with a smile on our face. The Young Feminist Movement Namibia was founded out of a need that we needed a space where young women could speak out for themselves. We needed a space for young women to talk about issues within their community that are hurting them. We needed a space for young women to become leaders. And we are seeing that. The mere fact that I'm sitting here speaking to you and to my colleagues here, it shows that we are reaching something. That it shows that when it comes to gender equality, we are making strides as a country because NGOs are coming up. Women's rights organizations are slowly but surely they are organizing themselves, and we are talking about issues that are important to us.
Very much.
But on the downside, Namibia still remains a very violent society. Gender inequality is nowhere. We are not reaching it. So that is why it is important for us to continually work on a Sustainable Development Goal number 5 that speaks on gender equality, which Young Feminist Movement is working on, in terms of building the leadership of young women. Because if young women are leaders within their community, they are able to speak out about issues that concerns them, be it water issues, be it land issues, be it the fact that they are homeless, the fact that they do not have proper sanitation or access to health. If women are able to speak out for themselves, they are able to demand and hold the governments accountable. That is why it is really important for us to work on gender equality, because if we as a civil society and the governments and the media and the private sector work together, we'll be able to achieve that.
Okay. we looked at achievements, but before we go on to the challenges that these organizations face, I would like to welcome the viewers. I would like to invite the viewers to please be part of this conversation this afternoon. NGOs really do a lot to try and assist people on the ground, you know, servants of the people, one would say, from what I'm picking up here. So be part of the conversation. If you want to ask a question to any of the panelists that we have in the studio today, our call line is 061, that's the area code for Windhoek. The number is 400-397, 400-397. You can also communicate to us through our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are with the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. On YouTube, our channel there is MICT Namibia, MICT Namibia. We continue with the conversation, and we would like to go through our panelists and once again ask them to highlight the challenges that they have been faced with as individual organizations, respective organization, the Women's Assembly, Rural Women's Assembly. What have been the greatest challenges that you have faced?
Okay, well, thank you so much, Desire. Well, when it comes to the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly, the greatest challenge we had faced, we do face, is, I would say, lack of funding can be one of them, because we know that we are a non-governmental organization. We do find that knowing that we've been going through, it was a period of COVID, and it was really hard to get access to funding, because, you know, it had been COVID, and we've been going through quite a lot, and the countries had also been focusing on mainly COVID, and also not only the country, but also donors. It was really hard to get donors. So funding was one of the challenges. The other challenges for rural women, to be specific, I would actually speak of some fail or they do not get access to donations. When I speak of donations, let's speak of, let's say, the food bank. Our rural women are not receiving this form of donations, because knowing that in the past 2 years we have been facing drought, and it was really, really hard for one to just have enough, you know, from their farm or enough from their fields. And it had really been a very big struggle, and it's been a challenge that our government had not met them, or are still not meeting our rural women or the people in the rural areas. So that is also another challenge that we've been facing. And the other challenge I would actually speak of when it comes to the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly, or in general the rural areas. One other challenge that we actually face is that despite funding, despite having access to some donations that are only given or accessed through the urban areas, whereby us in the rural do not actually get access of. We actually have lack of technology as a challenge as well, because knowing that our women are out there and they're doing quite a lot. They're doing a lot of charity work, they're doing a lot of mobilization work, they're advocating for rights, and because of the lack of technology, all this is not actually filmed in the end of the day, to say, or reported on, just to actually show how much our women are doing in the rural areas. Because if we speak of, you know, a woman, we actually know that if there isn't a woman, especially in the rural areas, there wouldn't be food, because they actually are responsible for the kitchen. They are responsible to make sure that there's bread on the table the very next day, through farming, where they actually have to cultivate and do all this. But it had been a very great challenge, because then all these interesting activities that they've been doing haven't been reported on, or they're doing so much out there and advocacy that they're doing, and it's not reported on. So I would actually take that as also another challenge.
Mr. Ndps, your challenges?
Yeah, I think Tony has touched upon it, and I believe as a sector, maybe not necessarily only about NDT, I think we have not managed to profile the sector well enough to be able to quantify and qualify the contributions that we are making. And therefore, I think we ourselves, maybe as individuals, we are doing an important job, but I think the total sum of that, if that can be quantified and qualified, government can take us more seriously. We can also take ourselves more seriously. Those partners that believe in what we are doing can also take us more seriously. So I think one of the things that we have been sharing in the sector is that in moving forward with this kind of NGO Day celebrations, we should find a way to be able to, of course, maybe aiming to make this as an annual event, but also being able to maybe contribute towards a, what I will call, for lack of better words, a state of non-profit sector report that can maybe come annually, biannually. Because, I mean, just quantifying to see how many people are getting employed in the NGO sector. That's a statistics that we need. How much we contribute towards the economic development. We are active consumers of the goods and services that are provided. We hold workshops. We hold and workshops, you buy stationery. We mobilize resources that are coming into this country. And we can, through that, quantify and qualify the contributions that we're making. In terms of just not who's been employed, but through NGO efforts, many communities get or generate self-employment opportunities for themselves. That's a contribution that we are making. Contributing, as my colleague has referred to, I mean, gender-based violence and gender inequalities are enormous. But also in that area, there is progress that we have made, innovations that have been made. In the housing sector, for example, the Sect Dwellers Federation, their model and a low-cost housing model that has been tried and tested speaks for itself volumes in terms of how NGOs can go out and do. And I think if we can qualify that, the basic income grant, we have piloted something, government is at least now saying we are considering taking up part of what you are saying. And that is our model. I mean, that is our role. We cannot at a large scale roll out and think something, but we can, through our innovation, at a small scale, test a model that we believe that can work. And I think government can then take it up and scale it up and roll it out at a national level. So in some cases, NGOs are also seen as, we are not challenging government and we are not anti-government. We are working hand in hand with government. And I think those sectors where government collaborates with civil society organizations have demonstrated greater success. And I think that is what we need to work towards, to seek each other and able to hold hands and be able to, as both government, non-government and private sector come together and work. Let me give Mr.
Ms. Ngos, your challenges in your organization, what have they been mostly, the main ones that you have faced as an organization?
Firstly, if we look at it internationally, only one tiny percentage of funding goes towards women's rights organization. That just shows us how many percentage of that is coming to Namibia. And I'm specifically speaking about the feminist movements in this country, which are led by women's rights organizations, which are led by some youth organizations, LGBTQ organizations, organizations working on human rights issues. So I think it is really important for us to look at the challenges that civil society organizations are facing in a holistic way. For example, if we look at the youth civil society in this country, they are not thriving. They are just surviving. They are just surviving on threat. That's how bad things are for youth-led civil society organizations. And youth is a very important partner, because if youth are organizing themselves, if youth are part of actively participating in decision-making, they are able to transform this community, because Namibia, half of the Namibian population is the young people. So what needs to happen in order to support youth-led civil society organizations and civil society organizations that are led by women, such as rural women, for example. Rural women that are, when it comes to access to resources, are not there. When it comes to participating in decision-making platforms and having their voices heard, they are not actively participating in that. And those are the barriers that we need to break. So some of the challenges that we are facing is in terms of human resources. Do we have enough human resources in order to do the work that we are supposed to do? And what are the expectations that our communities have for us? Because civil society organizations cannot do everything.
Yeah.
We need the support of the government.
Okay. Very good points that have come across here with regards to achievements and successes, despite, the times that we tend to find ourselves in, whether it's COVID or drought or recessions or so on. The fact that these NGOs and civil and CSOs, yes, I got that right. NGOs and CSOs continue to still bear, the baton and try and assist where they can. Again, just to remind you that our call lines are open. You can call in. The area code for Vintic is 061 400 397 is the number. 400 397 is the number. And you are welcome to add your voice to the conversation. We are speaking about their contribution of non-governmental and civil society organizations to the attainment of SDGs and NDPs, and also just their general achievements within the country and the importance of NGOs and so on, and what they bring to the table, to the Namibian table, to be more specific. On social media, you can find us on MICT, which is MICT. It is short for Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. YouTube, you can find us at MICT Namibia. That is our channel on YouTube, MICT Namibia. Getting back to the conversation here, we would like to find out, starting with Ms. Kagas, we would like to find out that despite the impacts of COVID-19, how has your respective organization contributed towards efforts aimed at ensuring that the country develops and implements an all-inclusive COVID-19 recovery plan? I'm sure we will give the platform to everybody, but we'll start with you.
Thank you so much. So our recovery plan was mostly in terms of strengthening the coordination of grassroots feminist organizations, which we have been doing in the past 2 years, to see, and that includes rural women-led organizations, youth-led organizations, sex workers-led organizations, LGBT-led organizations, key populations, to be more specifically. So, as part of our COVID response, we saw that a lot of organizations were really struggling to even meet with their communities. And the kind of support that we were giving is in terms of creating that safe space for communities to come together and to ensure that we are supporting these organizations, be it through any means, so that they are able to do the work that they are supposed to do. Because when COVID-19 hit us, things went very chaotic, especially for organizations. Everybody didn't know what was happening. But then, as civil society organizations, we've been really resilient, that we found innovative ways to connect with our communities, to hold space. So the most important thing that we saw was in terms of civic spaces, the shrinkage of civic spaces of NGOs, having the space to be able to express freedom of expression when it comes to access to information. Because there was a lot of disinformation about COVID-19 that was spreading all over, the social media and so forth. So what we were doing was really working with our communities, giving people the accurate information to say that this is the way we are supposed to protect each other. But the one thing that is mostly important for us is to have your voices out there. Don't be silent, speak out about it. So that I think that is one way that we held space in Namibia in terms of strengthening civil society coordination and communication and connection, so that we are able, to strengthen our resilience and agency to speak out.
Ms. Amambo?
Well, thank you, Desire. When it comes to the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly, the role we played during the period of COVID-19, or till now that we're still playing, we've been mobilizing for people to get vaccinated. Our women, our children, our families in the rural areas, we've been mobilizing for them to get vaccinated within their rural areas. The other one, we've been also raising awareness and also sharing information on how people could actually they can work around protecting themselves because the virus just struck, and later on it was a thing of everybody had to find a way on how do we protect ourselves. So we actually had to make sure we're actually another source of information transformation, where we had to use our rural women. They were the ones that went out there as focal people to mobilize and also just sensitize the communities about COVID-19, and also just share the right information on how people could actually protect themselves.
Okay. Mr. Dempush?
Yeah, we had quite a number of initiatives, but maybe the one that I can speak about is as NACSO, which is another institution that we are part of, the Namibian Association for Community-Based Support Organization. We support the community-based natural resource management approaches, where communities are supported to form what is known as conservancies. Conservancies gives rights communities to tourism and benefit from wildlife activities. As we know, one of the sectors that has been severely affected is the tourism sector. So in Namibia, we have got about 86 conservancies, and within about 31 of those conservancies, they actively generate income and are able to sustain jobs. We are talking about over 5,000 jobs that these community-based enterprises are making. And to sustain those jobs, because no income was coming to conservancies, the private sector, which was going into partnership ventures with communities, couldn't provide the revenue to these conservancies. And therefore, we came out with a COVID relief recovery program, which is again a joint partnership approach by NGOs, by government under Ministry, Environment, Forestry and Tourism, with donor partners that have come in like WWF in Namibia, KFW, UNDP, and various other partners, including Environmental Investment Fund in Namibia. It was again a joint effort. So I think one thing that we have seen is COVID has taught us a lesson to be able to come together more, to be able to draw strengths from each other, synergies, how best to coordinate. And that was a coordinated response that partners have carried out. And through that initiative, partners have been able to ensure that the conservancies do not go down, because they create a critical response at a local level in terms of mobilizing communities to be able to look after their tourism resources, which does not only contribute towards the environmental goals of Namibia, but contributes towards poverty reduction, employment creation, income in rural economies, etc. And I must say that we have so far succeeded to be able to sustain that. Another partner which was important is the Community Conservation Fund of Namibia, that has also played an important role in terms of rolling out of this initiative. So I think that for me was a clear testimony that when we work together as partners, we can be able to do that. And I think COVID-19 has also opened up new areas of, and also how NGOs can provide services to communities. You know, we have now been more familiarized and see the potential of social media, other platforms, virtual meetings, Zoom meetings, and can provide services in a much cost-effective way. So it has not only provided challenges, but it has opened up opportunities for us to be able to have new ways of doing things.
Okay. Ms. Amambo, starting with you, we would like to find out how or what has been the role of your organization with regards to contributing towards the achievements of NDPs and SDGs.
Thank you, Desire. When it comes to the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly, we've played a very critical role, especially towards the Sustainable Development Goal 1, which speaks to zero hunger. And then we mainly contributed also on the Sustainable Development Goal 2. And actually, when it comes to these two goals, first of all, we had the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly had actually, they actually have a seed bank where they distributed seeds within the rural areas to to the communities, just so that they're able to plant them, and so that they're able to, once they plant them, they can be able to grow them, and they'll be able to obviously feed their families.
Yes.
Where we strongly speak to, to work to eradicate poverty within our rural areas.
Yeah.
And on top of that, when it comes to our sustainable development goals, Namibian Rural Women's Assembly is out there actually, and they are part of the land boards, as I was saying. The women are actually out there where they're raising awareness, more especially for our women in the Kunene northern regions, where we know that when it comes to culture, it plays a very huge role there. Women are actually sensitized, and we are raising huge awareness so that they are able to access land. We are actually playing that role to just make sure that our women know that it's their right as well to own a piece of land.
Yeah,
Because then these are some of the very key issues that our women are facing in the rural areas. They are not able to access land, not because they do not have opportunities to, but just because that the information needs to be shared with them, and awareness needs to be raised, and it needs to be sensitized out there. So the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly had really played a very huge role. And on top of that, within the Namibian Rural Women's Assembly, when we are speaking to zero hunger, to the Sustainable Development Goal that speaks to zero hunger, well, actually, our women are farmers, because they're in the rural areas. So what actually have been doing, we know that behind, as I was saying, behind the kitchen or behind the family, whoever runs there is the woman. And these are our women in the rural areas that go out in the field to make sure that there is enough food that would actually, feed their families over throughout the year.
Yes.
Like this year, we can see that the seasons are changing.
Yeah.
We can't really predict, the climate anymore to say that, no, this is the season where we cultivate. Because normally we don't receive so much rain within February.
Yes.
But then as we are seeing this year, things are changing. We might find that it's a flood year, or you might find that it's a drought year. But our women always make sure that on the ground, there is something to actually, feed their family. There is enough food to feed their families. So we had really played a very huge role, or we are still playing a very huge role in speaking towards zero hunger, and to also advocate for our women to be able to access land in the rural areas.
Okay. Ms. Kahas, we would like to find out from you, how can NGOs or CSOs, how can they inspire young people to become more actively involved within the sector? And also, how can they encourage a greater, is it a symbiosis between NGOs and both the public and private sector? I think I'll start with you, Mr. Kagasa, and then we will move on to Mr. Dempert with that one.
Okay. I would start with human rights literacy. I think that is very important in terms so that people can know. Something as basic as knowing your constitution, to know that you have rights and that you cannot take away somebody else's rights. Looking at issues of violence, where people are without consent, asking somebody, do you want to have sex with me? You want to go and rape somebody, which is wrong. We want Namibians to know their human rights. We want our communities to stand together so that we practice, community leadership building. Because if as communities we are coming together and building community health centers and building community-based organization, we will be thriving as a community. That way we are practicing our citizenship, we are practicing our human rights, and we are taking leadership. And I will specifically inspire Namibian girls, speak up, don't hold back. Our silence is not going to protect us. This is the time, 2022 is the year for us as Namibian girls and young women to rise, because we have been silenced for too long. This is the time for us to show the world our creativity, our ideas, and also to heal ourselves as we are healing our ancestral lines. Because as Namibians, we have been through a lot. If we have to look at the situation of how we have moved from, the genocide to apartheid, to right now fighting COVID-19, we are seeing how Namibians have been organizing themselves through all these different kinds of generations. We have been organizing ourselves, and we will continue to organize ourselves. So it takes courage for us to, stand up and say, but enough is enough.
Yeah.
I deserve better. And I think from that onwards, we are saying that we, as Namibians, we are saying we are taking the leadership, because civil society organizations and movements, every single body is part of it. And anybody can join any kind of a group of organization that they feel they want, that they feel they are aligned to. So I would inspire Namibians to join groups, to start movements, so because collectively we are able to get to gender equality.
Yes, yes. Mr. Dempish, while it's a week of activities. Awareness started last week already. The official day was the 27th of February, but you did not stop there, because you want to create a momentum for people to be aware of NGOs and maybe even come into partnership with them. Now we want to find out from you, who are the different partners, just even if it's just examples that you're looking to work with in celebrating this day, not just this week, but also in the future. What are the various activities that you can allude to us on that are planned for the week in celebrating NGO Day? And maybe it's safe for me to say NGO Week, actually, because it's a whole week of activities.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think maybe just before I come there, in terms of how young people, especially young people, and this year's theme globally is really talking also about youth development and the role that youth can play. And I mean, like any other organization, we need young people. So those who are studying, those that have finished their studies, one of the career options is that you can come in and work in the NGO sector. We need accountants, we need finance people, we need people with ICT knowledge, we need writers, we need reporters, we need actors. So there's an ample opportunity for young people to connect with NGOs, and the greater fulfillment is that you are contributing towards social development in the diverse sectors that NGOs are working. You can never get bored when you are in a civil society organization. Even if you are an accountant, even if you will get engaged in one or the other way through a very vibrant set of activities. And that is what we can promise in every NGO work that you'll be doing. So if you are a youthful person, a vibrant person, NGO is one of the considerations that you can give to be able to choose as your next career choice. This year, I think we have been thinking about carrying out a number of activities, but because of funding and other things, we have decided to keep it at a low level, as it is the first time. What we mainly have focused on is media and our awareness campaign. And again, our media workers, the media institutions in their different areas are one of the partners that NGOs needs to realize that the potential is there to be able to help and carry the message and strengthen the media work that has been done, and through that create much awareness and visibility for the sector. So we have mainly focused on media, our awareness raising through television channels, through radio programs, to be able to do that kind of work. We have also decided to say let's focus on documenting what NGOs have so far been doing. So we'll do a little small documentation work, talking to a number of people that have been involved in the NGO sector pre-independence up to now, in terms of understanding what has been the evolution of the sector and where do we think the sector is today. So the main event that we are planning for this week as a more celebratory activity is planned for this coming Friday, the 4th of March. And it shall be, we have invited the UNDP representatives. I mean, UNDP is one of the institutions that are also supporting civil society with this activity. So we are hoping to be blessed with their presence, to be able to basically provide a message of support. We have also extended an invitation to government, because government provides that enabling environment, the policy legislative framework. And I mean, despite the challenges that we have, one of the conditions that we have in Namibia is that we can organize ourselves and be able to carry out our activities. The peace and stability that is there, of course, challenges and issues are there, but at least the peace and stability. We are not living in a very, active conflict situations like we see now globally, wherever we are. I mean, the different parts of the world that are affected so much. So, one of the things that we want to reflect on is about the NGO government policy to be able to see how can we improve around that. But we also know that this is the beginning of the year, and that is deliberately that we have chosen to celebrate this at the beginning of the year to set the pace. And a number of actions are lined up during the course of the year. As we have been mentioning, the International Women's Day is just around the corner in March. I'm sure women's organizations that have taken part in this platform and others will be organizing various activities. In April, we are looking at civil society networking engagements, again, where we are going to draw civil society actions. There's a popularly known gender activism week or month that has been celebrated throughout the year. So I think those are activities that we believe will revitalize civil society to be able to engage. But the main event is planned for this coming Friday with those main speakers that I've mentioned. We will be present, but we also will have civil society panelists that will talk about the evolution of civil society, and particularly will be honing on what should be the role of NGOs. Now in Namibia, and that is where we'll have different panelists that will be speaking. The afternoon will be devoted, mainly hosted by the environmental sector, to be able to again share around their work, their achievements, and since it's Friday, we'll do it in style to be able to end it with a celebratory activities, to be able to just affirm the space that we have got and inspire each other. And unfortunately, we can only do these activities for this year in Windhoek, but through live streaming and other means, we hope that other people in the regions can connect to be able to share with us.
Okay. Well, there you have it. I think the one thing that one takes away from what Mr. Dempa shared a bit earlier on, NGOs, CSOs, they do not have a dull moment. I think they'll keep you young and healthy, based on what he said. Very vibrant organizations, and honestly, they actually allow for the formation of bodies that help to meet government halfway. And I think it's also a call that the panelists have now made to especially young people out there. Find an organization that you can align yourself with, and honestly speaking, your energies will be worthwhile. And Mr. Dempa has also said it, that they, as much as they are non-governmental or they are only civil society organizations, they do need professionals to assist them to continue running these organizations, because clearly they have had great impact on assisting us as a Namibian nation to get certain things done, mobilization, advocacy, and everything else that comes along with these organizations. With that said, we would like to thank you for being part of our show this afternoon. We would also like to extend a great gratitude to our panelists who made the time out, especially with the fact that they are having a very busy week, as it is NGO week, as I will dub it as such. So thank you very much for taking the time out to be with us. We would like to invite you to our next session, which will be the first for the month of March 2020. It will be taking place on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So please do make a date with us. From myself, Shianwa Desire Kahiha, and the production crew, kudos.